All right, guys, looks like we're live. Welcome. First off, I want to thank everyone for being here, speakers. I know you guys have a lot going on. Thank you guys for being here and being willing to share your guys' knowledge. And everyone listening, thank you guys as well for being here. Today, we're talking about iOS 15, and in particular, its implementations on email marketing. So I'm going to quickly start with a 10-second bio on myself, and then I'll pass it off alphabetically to Ben and the other speakers to give their quick intro. So I'm a partner at an e-commerce email marketing agency, and we've done over $50 million in email revenue. So really excited to be here and passing it over to you, Ben.
Thanks, Chase. Hey, everyone. I'm Ben. I'm the founder and CEO of Privy. We're an email and text marketing platform specifically built to support small Shopify brands. Today, there's over 100,000 Shopify stores that use Privy, and we were recently, just a couple of weeks ago, acquired by Attentive Mobile. So thanks for having me, Chase. Appreciate you pulling together this incredible group. Yeah,
absolutely. George, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, I'm George Schlossnagel. I'm the founder of SparkPost. So we're a premier transactional email sending platform that delivers both in the cloud and on premises. We were recently acquired as well by MessageBird in March. And so now I'm a distinguished engineer at MessageBird.
Awesome. Thank you. Jimmy, and yourself?
Sure. Hey, hi, I'm Jimmy Kim, CEO and co-founder of Sendlane. Similar to everyone else, we're an email SMS marketing automation platform. We focus on small, medium enterprise businesses, specifically in e-commerce. We started our journey back in 2013, more of a need and necessity, eventually became a business in 2017. And today we're sending a little bit north of about 1.5 billion emails. And today I'm excited to be here because I think I bring a unique point of view, being on the hybrid of a former retailer, an email marketer, and of course an ESP owner as well too.
Awesome. Thank you, Jimmy. And John, yourself?
Hey there, Chase. Thanks for having us. I'm John Tedesco. I'm the CEO of Drip. Our nearly 100 employees are on a mission to empower the e-commerce rebellion, and we do that with our email and SMS marketing automation platform. We've served thousands of brands across the globe, generated over $1 billion in GMV. I'm super excited to be here. So thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you. And Kady, yourself?
Yep. Hi there. I am the head of marketing at Klaviyo. And we are, if you haven't heard of us, we are an email and SMS marketing platform. Also, we have over 250,000 customers on Shopify and other platforms. We've been in business, I think, since 2012. Unfortunately, our CEO and founder, Andrew, couldn't join us, so you get me. I just joined Klaviyo about 7 months ago, and prior to that, I actually was on the other side of the house running an e-commerce business. So I've been in the shoes of a lot of the audience who's probably here to listen from us.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, and I'm going to butcher your name, but Rytis, and you can start with actually your real name.
Yeah, thanks, Chase, for inviting. Yeah, Rytis is my real name, but Rytis, that perfectly works for me. I'm used to that. So yeah, I'm co-founder, CEO of Omnisend, marketing automation platform. Similar to folks, we do serve online businesses, small and medium ones, more than 60,000 customers globally. And yeah, we do email, SMS marketing, web push notifications, and other channels as well. And what is unique about us? We are customer funded or bootstrapped. So we are in the shoes of our vast majority of our customers as well. So we really feel small marketers, nimble teams, and those who are really hustling hard to get to the decent business.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, let's get started. And I've seen people using the emojis. So as people are saying cool things, use emojis, drop comments, and let's engage. So starting with the first question, and Ben, you're going to go first. And we're going to go through the same order alphabetically for this question. Is email marketing dead? And how will iOS 15 change email marketing?
I love that question. So I started Privy about 10 years ago. I think for a lot of us here today, it feels like every single year people are tweeting, oh, this is the end of email marketing. First, it was when Gmail launched the promotions tab, then GDPR, CCPA. We got some of that when text was starting to light up as well. And now with iOS, no different. So I really think email is going to continue to be one of your strongest channels. There's no doubt about that. I think for me personally, the most notable iOS related changes are, A/B testing subject lines. Okay, that's a bummer, right? You won't be able to kind of test two against each other, pick a winner and continue sending. I know there's also a lot of fans out there of the resend to unopened audience. So that play will disappear. But honestly, I'm just a huge believer in focusing your entire funnel and around metrics that matter for your business, right? So I think like just because you can't look at open rates anymore doesn't mean you can't piece together the full funnel around metrics that really matter, whether that's profitability for you or revenue growth. So, yes, I think we should be doing some work to prepare for the changes, both at the brand level and the ESP side, but it's not something that's really keeping me up at night.
Awesome. And then George, you're next, and then Jimmy, John, Kady, Rytis, jump in right when they finish. So off to you, George.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what Ben said. I've been in email now for almost 25 years. When I entered the industry, people were saying that email was dead or dying. So I think the reports of its death are greatly exaggerated. I think I also agree that I do think that these iOS changes will institute a number of practice changes within email. I think some are challenging, right? So on the list hygiene side in particular, I think opens are currently like a really good, or at least the best that's available, leading proxy for engagement of users in email. And so as you try to move unengaged users out of your list, new mechanisms will need to be developed for that. I think that's really key. And I think that there are other components as well, some of which may lead to, frankly, better behavior, right? So moving more strongly to confirmed opt-in, something the industry has been trying to do really since, certainly through like the 20 plus years that I've been involved. This may be finally the kick in the butt to really push people in that direction, which I think would be a net positive change.
Very cool. I guess I'll jump right in. I agree a lot with George there. I think there's a lot of things. I think ultimately the biggest thing that I have kind of looked at and within our team as well too is that we look at this as a positive evolution when we think about this, because email has been a little bit loose and things have changed and laws are coming and everything's changing the way that people are thinking about marketing and how to use your current marketing practices. So the first thing I'll say is poor marketing practice is going to go away. I think that's going to be big, and it's going to change the thought process behind attitude, behavior, values, and beliefs when you think about what a marketer is really thinking about. And then if you think about all the laws coming down, especially without the ability to track, it's going to cause a lot of problems for people. So think about the fact that you won't be able to track engagement, geo-targeting, or geolocation based on opens or anything else that you're going to be able to do. Combine that with a lot of the new laws coming in outside of the normal stuff that we already know about, like GDPR, Castle, and CCPA, but thinking about like the Virginia Consumer Data Protection Act, the Colorado Privacy Act, the Nevada one. Everybody's talking about it. And over the next couple of years, I think privacy becomes standard. And so this evolution is just our next wave, the next change. And just like everyone else, we've been in email for quite some time and we've seen it change over and over again. And this is just another change that we have to deal with. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with all those points. Email's not dead. And I kind of like Jimmy's point around up-leveling how marketing is done. I think this is, again, an opportunity for us as marketers to really focus on the fundamentals. Again, number one is, do you have creative, engaging content, first and foremost, that customers actually want to receive? Number two is, do you consistently deliver it to them in a way that builds a relationship with your customers, or are you just kind of shooting it out of a cannon? And then number three, back to Ben's point, focus on true value delivery metrics and not vanity metrics or metrics that are on the periphery of kind of value delivery, whatever they may be for your business. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to up-level the game and, again, continue to focus on what matters most across the board, which is really around engaging customers, using a channel to engage with a one-to-one relationship with your customers, to tell your brand story, and to drive ultimately revenue.
Yeah, I can go next. Chase, I 100% agree with everything that people have said so far. I do think email as a broadcast tool, in my opinion, is in its kind of dying throes, in its last throes. I don't think you can be effective anymore by just broadcasting a whole bunch of unpersonalized kind of messages. But I think what is going to be a sort of a renaissance right now is how you can use email to send personalized and or one-on-one communication to your customers at scale. And email is probably one of the few tools left where you can do this at scale with a vast number of people, and you don't have to worry so much about the cost. It's kind of, at scale, this is at most 1/10 the cost of what you would pay for paid acquisition efforts. So if you've built up this discipline of use the right tool to collect the right contextual information on your customers, and like John said, personalize the messaging as well as the content to them, and then personalize the timing as well, this becomes a really rewarding experience for your customers. And then what happens is that they start to want to hear from you rather than you trying to push things out to them. So, and that's what you want. You want that relationship where people are asking for your content, asking to subscribe to your list, rather than you pushing things out. So I don't think email marketing is dead. I think it'll change significantly.
So email marketing is not dead, that's for sure. And I completely agree to everyone who just said that. For many years, everybody's predicting the death. But opens are dead, and that's for sure. And I believe that Google will follow this Apple's move and all the privacy initiative, and opens will be dead. So I really want to invite everyone to visit opensaredead.com. So this is the website which is dedicated to this iOS 15 topic, and we collect all it's not only by us, we collect all the industry leaders' opinions, including your Chase tweets are there, and all the rest, and really everyone who is listening can find a lot of very valuable information there. So opens are dead, but email will thrive, I have no doubts. The only thing which we marketers have to change, I would say, so it's engagement. I would disagree a little bit that opens were vanity metric. Open is already engagement with your content. It's already an engagement. So it's not a full vanity metric. But as marketers, we'll have to shift from inbox engagement to customer engagement. And that's good, because customers are the only one which is actually matters. Inbox doesn't matter. Yeah, the customer engagement, it's the only thing which matters. So from inbox engagement to customer engagement, I think that's the major change which will happen. And this is good, because it will make us focus on our customers.
Awesome. Yeah, great answers. I appreciate all of those. So the next question I'm going to go through, and George, we're going to start with you, and Ben, we'll end with you on this one. So we'll go George and then alphabetically down. So what is your number one tip to start planning and navigating your email marketing with the changes that are coming? So your top tip for people to start planning ahead and navigating what's to come.
Yeah, I think looking to the metrics that you do want to measure in terms of conversions or other downstream metrics that are the true business metrics that you want to associate with the performance of an individual subscriber. And then taking this window now that exists to really understand how that maps to existing behavior, so that you can continue to judge your effectiveness of your campaigns over time. So I think taking this window where opens still work and using that as calibration time to understand what really are the how does that perform in regards to conversion metrics? How does that correlate? I think is super important.
Cool. So when I think about where we're kind of headed with and how you're planning around this, I think the two things that really come in, I look at it two ways. The technical side, how do you prepare? If you're not doing authenticated sending, you're on a shared server right now. You need to start setting that up, getting your reputation built up so that you can maximize your engagement there. And then the second part there, as a marketer, I think about hyper-personalization and starting to put this into your act, where it's no longer about, I know people think personalization is around first name, but I think about catering message to the audience is what personalization means. And really, no longer can you write just one email or two emails. You're going to have to write a slew of different emails based around what the actual audience is going to most likely engage when talk about. And that's where I believe that we should be thinking about on as a marketer as well.
Yeah, so I think our tips are around kind of a three-pronged approach. Number one, it's around ensure that you have good list hygiene now while your data is freshest and you have the most amount of open rate data. So tune your list, prune your list, start to do some strategy testing now, again, while the data is richest. Number 2 is define a new North Star metric for your business, because now if open rates, if you've been based on that, that needs to change. And then number 3 is you got to adjust based on everything in between, your segments and your automation sequences, if they're based on open rates, or your A/B testing strategies are based on the subject line. Start to look down funnel and make those adjustments now. So clean your lists, set your new North Star metrics, and begin to adjust all of your segments and your automations now as a result of those changes.
So I have 3 words. I call this flip the funnel, and this is how we are going to create or navigate these changes. What I mean by flip the funnel is, for almost like 20 years, my entire paradigm has been start with the top of the funnel, figure out how to do acquisition using these really expensive sources, and then over time kind of figure out what you do at the bottom of the funnel. But what we have to do in this new age is almost like change the whole thing, turn it on its head, make sure that we have the bottom of the funnel infrastructure set up first. So that's your abandoned cart series, your flows, your email marketing, your loyalty, referrals, all of that kind of stuff, before you go start acquiring at the top of the funnel. So in a sense, you're kind of flipping the order of how you do things. You're flipping the order of set the infrastructure at the bottom of the funnel first before you go acquire. And this doing it this way is going to basically de-risk you as a business in terms of driving a whole bunch of people in and bleeding them through the funnel. You're also going to make the content much more personalized. You're going to build your network of customers or loyal customers from the bottom up rather than trying to jam people in. So there's a whole bunch of things that you can do by changing the way you think about this whole funnel. And the most important kind of leverage point there is this idea of, is basically the first party data, how you collect that first party data. And I know we throw around words like first party, zero party. We actually started to call it customer first data, because this is about making sure that you're collecting the information that's most contextual to customers. So once you have that customer first data, then this whole idea of the funnel becomes much more stronger, particularly at the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, thanks. So my or our number 1 tip would be is really change the understanding of subscribers list. So up until today, subscriber list for the marketers, for businesses, especially small and medium-sized businesses, is something as an asset. Yeah, so I have an asset because I have a list of, let's say, 50,000 subscribers, but how many of those subscribers are really active ones? So barely half of them, maybe sometimes 40-30% of them are active. So from subscribers to audience. So if we talk about audience, so audience is the one which is gathering in the concert, going to cinema, the ones who pay for the ability to be somewhere. So if you start thinking about your customers as an audience, so they are really willing to be somewhere. So, and they show that with clicking on your messages, engaging with your website, purchasing from you. Yeah, so that would be the number 1 advice from really subscribers, which I have a lot. They sometimes may be old, to an audience. So ones who are really engaging with your brand, with your business by various means, not only opening, or opens will not be available anymore. So engaging in all the other ways. And the second tip would be is really start like doing real omni-channel marketing. So I believe email will remain most effective channel for retention marketing, but SMS, web push notifications, it's really what you have to do in combination with an email. Ben, I guess it's your turn.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, look, I think everyone kind of covered what I was going to say, which is great. But one more tip that I'd kind of turn the table back to is list growth. And how you think about growing your list, right? So I think the industry has kind of adopted pop-ups as a great acquisition tool. There's quiz builders, there's all this stuff that's fantastic. But I would also kind of encourage you to think about the intersection around, looking for high intent audiences on your site. So, don't just think about new visitors, think about people that are taking certain actions that are going to be high intent, right? people that have multiple page views that have $100 in the cart and they're about to leave, right? So that's a great audience. And the way that you nurture those people should be different than, someone who just joins from a welcome pop-up on your site. So taking a really targeted approach to how you're acquiring these customers, marrying that with the automation or the flows in terms of what you're delivering them, and doing that in a timely fashion, I think you're just going to set yourself up for, warming up the inboxes, deliverability, maybe even going for the replies. But all of that starts with a great list growth program.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. And I think we kind of scratched the surface on this a little bit, but I kind of want to just address it again. So what other metrics should we focus on or look at without open rate data? What's going to replace the open? And we're going to start with Jimmy on this one, and we're going to end with George.
Cool. Yeah, I think this is the loaded question, really, when it comes down to it. And I think there's a lot of answers to this, and there'll be plenty along here. But I think when we talked about it internally within our team, we started to think about the click in general and understanding that clicks are no longer going to be treated equally. And one of the metrics that we use here at Sendlane that we think about a lot is what we call the UTA, which is and if you want to know the math behind it, it's unsubscribed plus complaints divided by unsubscribed plus clicks and complaints, right? And what it does is it delivers. When a message is delivered, it's looked at, they choose to click on something, and the click that they chose was to unsubscribe or to look at the subscription, right? That's negative engagement. And I think what we're going to start to learn real fast is that clicks need to be looked at in a very granular way. And it's no longer about just a click, but where did they click, how many times they clicked, what they did, all those pieces of data are going to become important. So I think my first and major tip, I guess, or thinking about where evolution of metrics comes in is really starting to look at clicks and analyzing them a lot deeper, and then start thinking about the negative click and how that's truly affecting you and how you start to look at that data.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. I think the way we think about metrics, and this is kind of a little bit on what Kady was saying, and to some degree what Ben was saying, is we view it kind of as an archery target. The inner circle is focusing on purchases and probably more specifically kind of repeat purchases, because that's really the goal. And then the outer rings of that target probably is where open rates existed, and now we're that outer ring may be gone with respect to its reliability, and maybe click-through rate or something like UTA might be on the outer ring. But I think some of the intermediate rings is what Ben touched on. Is I think there's a lot of on-site engagement data, whether it's catalog pages or product pages or carts created. And I think that data, mapping the journey, the customer journey from that email engagement, that content engagement to an actual purchase, getting that data is kind of where the metrics we'd be looking at in terms of bringing customers from that email engagement out to an actual purchase. And on-site behavior and on-site data is pretty critical, we think, in that customer journey.
Yeah, I agree with all of the things people have said. At Klaviyo, we look at this metric called Klaviyo attributed value, so KAV. So for us, that's a measure of how we can help our customers be more successful. So KAV essentially is what percentage of your revenue is going to come from email marketing. And for a long time, for a lot of us marketers, even though we've been in the industry for a long time, we've never traditionally thought about email as a revenue driver. And it can be such a huge revenue driver. Up to, some of our customers, I was shocked to see that we have up to 40-50% of their revenue coming from email. So for us, it's about anchoring against what can we help our customers do in terms of that revenue, and then kind of working backwards and saying, what are the different points that make sense? So clearly, click-through rates make a big, have gained prominence now that open rates are kind of going off. But at the end of the day, what does that all lead to? That's kind of what we focus on. The one thing that I'll leave you guys with is, I like what Ben said around list growth. I do think we can't have this conversation about what metrics matter if it's only about just email marketing. Like if you're just doing email marketing to your existing group of customers without trying to grow that list, it just becomes a really moot point. You're sub-optimizing on so many different levels. So I think along with how we think about email marketing and its efficiency and efficacy, you also have to start thinking about, okay, how do I increase my the number of my customers not using these paid channels, but owned marketing channels. How do I use owned marketing to increase the lists? And that also becomes a big lever for us to think about how effective email marketing can be.
Nice.
Yeah, so I really liked John's concept about inner and outer circles of metrics. So for those who do sell online, for online businesses, I would say like conversion is the main metric, and it was already, but still, I believe that especially for smaller businesses, like for those who really took up until today opens as a primary metric, so it will be replaced by clicks highly likely, but definitely we should be focusing on the conversions. But at the same time, I think we as like ESPs, we should provide a really understandable way for the customers, not to complicate things too much. Yeah, so I think clicks are important, that's for sure. Conversion is the most important if you can track conversions on your business. If you do sell online, if you are commerce, definitely conversion is the number one metric, that's for sure. And the secondary metrics are like engagement, cross-channel engagement, not only emails, but text messages, push notifications, website visits, purchase data. If someone is really purchasing from you and you have in your email list, although the person is not maybe clicking on an email, but maybe you can continue sending because you have other proofs that that customer is really engaged overall with your business. So yeah, I would say like conversion is the most important metric, engagement, and then just if you are just a pure email, like email marketer, just clicks then as a replacement, direct replacement for opens.
Yeah, I agree with what I'm sorry, Ben, it's your turn. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. That's all right.
Clearly hard with the alphabetization here.
All right. Sure. Yeah, I'll go. I think just piggybacking off of what Kady was saying, they think about percent of revenue coming from email. I think another really strong metric to look at is just like the average revenue that you're generating per each email contact, right? So it's something that's easy to calculate, and it should be based on our data over $30 per mailable contact. If it's not, then you can kind of think about other initiatives to take that would drive that up, right? So it could be, your automation funnels. Maybe you're not sending enough like one-time segmented campaigns. Maybe you need more products to get your repeat purchase rate higher. Like there's a ton of stuff, but I would just get your baseline average revenue per contact and then think of initiatives to get that up over time. It's not that every single contact on your list is going to make an order, right? That's never going to be true, but over time, you want that average contact per revenue going up.
So I agree with what everyone said. I think we're somewhat in a unique position in that our customers are not even largely e-commerce customers. We have a great diversity of folks. So I guess I would generalize what Rytis said, which was that it's all about tracking conversion, but conversion means different things to different businesses, right? So a traditional e-commerce site, maybe it's dollars per user. If you're a social networking site, if you're some other type of property, maybe a conversion means something different to you, right? So it's about like, what is the action that you're really trying to drive out of that email, and then finding a way to effectively measure that. So if that's, hey, I want people to come back and pin things on my board, or come back and message somebody or interact with my website. Finding a way to measure that and instrumenting that, I think is the key. I mean, that's effectively the same as dollars indirectly within that type of model. So I think figuring out how to track that for your own business and what really makes sense for you will deliver you the best results.
Awesome. Yeah, and thank you guys again for those answers. I'm seeing this a little bit in the comments of the chat. So the next question here, will email still be able to deliver 20 to 40% or more of a merchant's revenue post iOS 15 with a lack of open attribution tracking? And we're going to start with John, and we're going to end with Jimmy on this one.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think they're you have to break it into two parts, that question. First, it's around the mechanism of email. Will it generate the revenue it historically has? And then there's the measurement. Will we be able to track the performance of that channel? So on a mechanism perspective, we believe email will continue to still deliver the gross revenue that it historically has. The importance of email hasn't, as we talked about earlier, is still there. Marketers are going to navigate inbox deliverability based on these privacy changes, so the emails will land. Customers are going to engage with content. They're going to come to the website and they're going to purchase. So we still think email as a channel will deliver the revenue. Now, in terms of measurement, no matter where you are, whether you are at 20, 30, or upwards of 50% of your revenue coming from email, those numbers will decline. And the basic math around that is with fewer open rates, a smaller population of open rates as a signal, you just have less opportunities to attribute revenue to that email. And the challenge for brands is that the rate of decline is really specific to the brand. There are a variety of factors that go into it. What percentage of your audience is in the Apple ecosystem? What percentage of those activate the privacy aspects? What amount of revenue comes from your Apple ecosystem customers? Because, quite frankly, that is a different demographic than non-Apple. And what percentage of your revenue is only, the only signal of engagement is the open rate. And so we're going to be entering a period where historical benchmarks for revenue are not going to be relevant. And those numbers are only going to decline based on the reasons I said earlier. And that's going to create some anxiety for the industry. And so I think this creates a unique opportunity, though, for us as email marketers and the panelists here, is if the historical attribution model of open rates is no longer reliable, can we replace it with a new standard? Should it be a purchase made X days after a click-through, or should it be something else? And so I think the ability for us as an industry to standardize on a new revenue attribution metric for email that is universally accepted and consistently applied would be a really good thing coming out of these iOS 15 changes, and it'll be good for merchants. And quite frankly, Drip would be happy to kind of lead that discussion as we think about the new world order after iOS 15.
I agree with many things that John said. I think it's interesting when you think about the attribution of email revenue. It really actually, I think in my mind, comes down to the kind of business model you have. If you're a business which has a huge catalog where you're relying heavily on repeat purchases and short purchase cycles, absolutely your email as a percentage of your revenue still has to be pretty high like that. And then it's a good signal that you're engaging your customers, you have the right content, the right catalog, you have the right messages sent out to them. And so there's going to probably need to be a bunch of re-engineering or rethinking about how much of that revenue should come from email for you. And if not, why not? Like that has to work. Now, if you're a kind of a one-time purchase model with or a long purchase cycle, that then starts to become interesting, right? Because you now have to basically rely on bringing people in rather than trying to upsell them all the time. So that's where things like list growth or web sign-on forms or other ways of building your list become super important. And once you bring people in through the funnel, then you kind of put them in the program of getting them to come back and purchase more, or keeping them or retargeting them and making sure your abandonment flows are set up and all that kind of stuff. So if you do all those things based on your business model, where you are in your life cycle, how much of emphasis you have on that customer relationship and the recency of those customer relationships, I don't see why email revenue should not continue to be a huge part of your overall revenue.
Although opens are dead, but I don't see any other impact why the real revenue coming from the email should decline. I mean, there are no presumptions for that. But definitely, I do agree to what John said, and it's on us ESPs to really define new attribution model. And it's a very technical exercise, but at the same time, it's very important. So in the past, usually the standard was like attribution by cookies, which was more accurate, I would say. But in the past, like few years, the new standard was set that open is the indicator, and then you have like attribution window. If someone has just opened your email, and we ESPs used to attribute, and we still continue attributing like any sale to that open. Any conversion, if it's different kind of businesses, to what George said, so that's what we will have to define, and industry will have to define. So the real impact on sales and how important email as a channel is for your business will remain the same. That's what I think. That attribution will be potentially a challenge, and it will have to be technically defined. And like for temporarily, I believe there can be different attribution models implemented by different ESPs, but I believe like in some time, the industry really will unify that. And John, if you're initiating some discussion to set the new industry standard, we are happily, Omnisend is happily joining you.
We'll let the Godfather Chase be leader on that.
So for me, I think a lot of the reason people are so nervous about this is that it kind of, is coming right after a lot of the targeting changes, the battle between Apple and Facebook. And that very deliberately actually removed a lot of the targeting capabilities that many people in here were probably using in their paid ads. I totally believe that you're still going to, use email to deliver 20 to 40% of revenue, maybe even more in some cases, even after this change happens. And, just to give you some comfort, like I'd encourage you to go into whatever ESP you're using, right? And look at your automated emails and the one-time sends that you're sending out, and like actually do the work to check, like, are any of these things built off of the open or the open rate, right? I'm willing to bet that very few of them are. And so, hopefully that'll just give you some comfort once you actually like go under the hood and check all that out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, I guess, with the prevailing wisdom here that I don't see any reason why this should affect the effectiveness of email marketing as a revenue stream. I think it does provide, in some cases, significant hurdles to attribution, and particularly some of the downstream things that opens are used for outside of attribution. So list hygiene being, a big one that I'm particularly concerned about. I think for all of those things, we will, need to solve the technical problem of instituting new models for how we want to manage those. And I think that's a doable thing. I think especially as we move more to an omni-channel world, we have a tremendous amount of signal from our customers, and really like using that data in a cross-channel way to effectively replace some of these metrics that we rely on today. But it fundamentally doesn't change anything in terms of like the actual effectiveness of email as a marketing channel, just the ability to measure it.
Yeah, and so as I wrap this up, a lot of great answers here. I think ultimately what, in my opinion, it really comes down to is re-education. I think that's really the right word that we think about, especially in the e-commerce world. Email marketing has evolved a lot over the last couple of years, and I think that that's something that people are thinking about. I think that we've all, and everyone, and any marketer will agree at some level, attribution is flawed at some point, and the open rate metric is flawed as well too. And I think what we do here at Sendlane, we've always been about the last click attribution, because I think that when we think about what attribution really means and what it means to the end user, and I think when you think about the future and how you look at attribution, I think CTA driven attribution is still true attribution. Intent is intent, and I think things are going to change, and conversion tracking needs to change. As everyone already has the problem where everybody thinks that they take credit for each sale. I get it. but ultimately there's got to be something in the long run where it helps truly define where that actual sale happened, what all the touch points came through. And I know it's a unicorn that everyone's chasing constantly to try to solve this, but I think this is going to be a really interesting place. And again, at the end of the day, my statement here is I think it's just going to take a lot of re-education between all of us in this room and every ESP and every marketer out there really talking about this and really understanding that things need to change in positioning and people need to be aware. And to the final answer there, I don't think it changes the actual element of how much revenue is generated. I think it's just people will start to understand it a little bit differently. So that's kind of the way we think about it here.
Awesome. And yeah, thank you guys all again for that insight. The next question I'm curious about is, how will you guys and how will ESPs, make their own adjustments for measuring deliverability? What's your team thinking about and what are you guys doing to prepare? And on this one, we're going to start with Kady and we're going to end with John.
Yep. So glad you brought this up, Chase. Open rates won't matter at all if your email isn't delivered. So deliverability is more than just open rates and the kind of the technical aspects of email marketing. A huge factor in this is that relationship that you drive with your customers. So the quality of your subscribers and their engagement with your content have such a big impact on that full deliverability recipe. So one of the things that we are thinking about is we ask our customers to take a look at the pre-built suppression option. So specifically, you can go in and create a segment of unengaged contacts and use our or whatever other ESP suppression tools you have to clean out that profile. So that increases your deliverability. You can also start to build a sunset flow based around opens and create an engaged segment, to maintain that list hygiene long after all of this iOS15 rolls out.
So I would say like two aspects of deliverability. First one is really technical inside ESP. So opens were only one of the proxies, which there are a lot of other different proxies like clicks, inbox placement, what Jimmy referred to, like unsubscribe bounce, a lot of different metrics. So I think for ESPs, there will be not the case at all. But, and I saw in the comment, like Benjamin is asking, I segmented my sense to engage lists, and he used to segment like opened or clicked, what we called engagement. So I think this is the second part, which is more important. So for marketers, for our customers, how do they take care about their list hygiene? So I would say the primary thing is really like two things. One is like the reasons, and I agree to what Ben said in the past here, really that having the fresh list is extremely important. So it's now even more important to have really fresh list. I mean, don't keep your subscribers too long. Start thinking about as an audience, as those who do engage with you. And if someone has not shown any engagement signs like click, visit your website, purchase, engagement through different channels, email, SMS, push notifications, etc. for 12 months, that's what we would recommend here at Omnisend. So you have to clean this list. Don't keep them too long in the list. Refresh, constantly grow your list. That's probably the main things. On top of that, what we as a product will be introducing, so it's like quality scores to each email address. Yeah, so we will be recommending you either you would like to keep the low score subscribers or audience in your list or not. So of course we recommend you to remove them because they will likely harm you more than really you will get value from that. So that's probably the main thing, how we ESPs will help customers, marketers to really leverage the quality of their list. So the recency, constant refreshment and growth, and engagement metrics, various different engagement metrics. That's what we would recommend.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of good stuff here that aligns with how we're thinking about it. I think, for us, we serve, entrepreneurs in the small end of the market. So, we're going to be weaving a ton more like in-dashboard education an emphasis around the value of segmentation and making just all of that stuff easier to unlock. I think the other thing that we're going to be encouraging and adding some tools around are going to be around driving responses and two-way communication as a way to just make the process of hitting the inbox stronger for all senders on the platform.
Yeah, from our, I guess I'll segment the question into two parts. I think from a deliverability, observability standpoint, I think that really there remain a number of like metrics and techniques that don't involve like any sort of like open pixel or beacon. So permission panel still works. Seedless still work. If you or your ESP subscribe to things like the Verizon Media sender placement feed, that still works. I think that there are a lot of really high signal mechanisms in place for continuing to get really accurate like inboxing and open rates and broad engagement metrics for mails and campaigns. I think that the critical part where there will be challenges where we all need to adapt are on those individual ones. So is this user engaged? Should I remove them from my list? I think that's the place where we will need to develop new proxies. And so there's potential there for providers that have the ability to access like third-party or cross-customer data to evaluate, hey, is this address like non-responsive for anyone? Like, are they looking for anyone at all? I think that for omni-channel providers, the ability to get telemetry across other non-email channels and to incorporate that, right? So I know, right, like one possibility is, having engagement, rely on website activity or out of band purchases or any other sort of signal that you have. And I think it's an area that traditionally hasn't been invested in because opens have worked really well, and now there's a big opportunity to go and see what can be taken advantage of in all of this other data that we have, that you have as individual like senders, and that service providers have as people who service many people.
So as I continue to hear this, I think it continues my message, which is re-education is going to be a main driver of where we're going with this. I think some of the things that I think about and we've thought about here is it's not just up to the ESP. I think at the ISP level as well too, like Postmaster tools and different things. I believe that things have to give us better insight behind it. Just like they're currently measuring around engagement and data, they totally understand that good businesses are doing the things that they need to do. These are messages that people want to receive and people want to engage with. So I believe that in order to help us, I think there's going to be some ISP changes as well too, which really come in with the Postmaster tools and so forth. Secondly to that, I think when you think about, and I get a little bit more granular when I think about this a little bit more, is that I think about more that the CTA and what it really means. Thinking about how are they clicking, what are they clicking. You think about the 110-1 rule, which is where you send opens and clicks, and you have to start figuring out that X, which is the opens, and start thinking about everything a little bit differently. And we're working on a lot of things within the company right now. And I know the next question is all about, what are we working on? And I don't want to spill the beans there, but essentially the biggest thing I look at is we're going to have to all figure this out. And I think we're all learning still, and there isn't a perfect answer yet. And I think we're all testing a lot of stuff. So that's how I think about it right now.
Yeah, so I think everyone has covered it for the most part. I do think, though, the way we think about it is there's the core deliverability data is still the same. Spam reporting, undeliverable reporting, spam, hard bounces, soft bounces. We still have that. And again, if it doesn't get to the inbox, it doesn't matter what it says in terms of an email. And I think the other theme that you're hearing here is that, I mentioned vanity metrics earlier, and I think the size of your list is like a vanity metric. And it goes back to this concept of an audience or an a level of engagement of the people on that list there. And what you're hearing is a variety of techniques to get more proactive engagement from that list, follow it up through multiple channels for sure. But again, I think sunset flows is the key, and you have to get real. Rytis says 12 months. You have to decide really what is your sunset flow, and at what point do you want to get unengaged subscribers off your list, because that's not really an audience. And so I think that'll be a discussion for each brand in terms of their purchase rate and what their historical data has on repeat purchases. And I think it's going to be 12 months or less for most e-commerce merchants, quite frankly.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. Hopefully, you guys can answer this question, and hopefully it's not releasing anything secret, but is your company creating any new features to kind of counteract the update? And if so, what are the things, or maybe what's something that we can expect to see? And Rytis, we're going to start with you, and then we're going to end with Kady here.
Yeah, thanks. So I believe still to be defined a lot, but there are three main directions which we're working. And overall, at Omnisend, we're on a mission to simplify complicated things and bring them to small and medium sized businesses, e-commerce businesses. Yeah, so there are three directions which we're currently working related to iOS 15 changes. First one is really getting ready with a lot of like presets, like pre-built segments of new definition of engaged audiences. Yeah, like list cleaning services, not only advices and not only education of like in the form of webinars, but just in our interface, you will be finding like presets there. For small and medium businesses, it's extremely handy because they don't have large marketing departments, they don't have data analysts, so just, you know, pre-built things. It's the first thing which we are really like heavily working on. Second thing is really what I have already covered, that engagement data, collecting engagement data from various channels, email, text messages, web push notifications, on-site behavior, purchase behavior, yeah, and enriching your customer's profile, your consumer's profile with all that engagement data, cross-channel engagement data. So this is the second direction we're working on. And the third one we're working on is really to keep, we're still willing to keep all the capabilities and all the features which we currently have. Let's say A/B subject line testing, yeah, which is heavily relied on opens across like us and our competitors and any other ESP as well. But we want really to keep those features there, and we're experimenting with some proxy metrics, with some predictive and artificial intelligence and all that stuff. So really, we want to keep all those capabilities there while using predictive analysis and instead of just basic opens. Yeah, so those are three main directions we're working on.
Awesome. For Privy, are we doing anything to counteract the update? Yeah, we're actually thinking about sending Uber drivers to your subscribers' houses to see if they're actually opening the emails. No, we're not. I think we're super focused on just making, you know, really easy to launch plays that are going to help you convert more site traffic and conversions through email and text. So I think, you know, the shifts that we will be taking are just giving you a holistic view of how any initiative, whether it's on your site, through email, through text, are actually driving, you know, a KPI that matters for your business. And we think that that's orders and revenue. So we'll certainly massage reporting formats and different things like that, but we're not going to be over optimizing on how to try and maintain some semblance of open rate.
Yeah, I think that it's ultimately a fool's errand to try to like directly run counter to a vendor like Apple's decision around how they want opens to be trackable or not. So trying to circumvent it, I think, won't work. It would be a big waste of time and would lead to bad results. I think the things that we are trying to do are improve customer visibility into metrics as to whether or not they are affected by these changes, so that you're able to, you know, sort of segment out from a metrics view opens that would be false opens, have those tagged in data streams, and then to take those other metrics that I had talked about, like that on an aggregate basis are really good for measuring campaign level engagement around inboxing and opens from like panel data and ISP like data feeds, and incorporating those into views so that you get a similar proxy. Because I do think that leading indicators for these things, like it's good to have the outer ring of the target. I really like that metaphor, by the way, John. I'm stealing that. So I think that's really important. And then as well, looking at how you can more easily like integrate conversion data into the platform as a first-party data source, so that you're able to effectively like measure that like derivative from like clicks or other existing engagement data.
Have some really great answers here today so far, and I think that where we're thinking about at Sendlane, which is really something that we've really heavily thought about as we own our own ESP infrastructure here, and we think about this a lot. And we've only been beta testing for the last week as iOS is pretty new right now. But here's 4 things that we're working on, and I'll share them here today, even though they're kind of a little bit secret, but I think it'll help the industry in general. So the first thing we're doing was we're modifying how experimentation works. So we call our split testing experimentation because it's multivariate here. We think about device-based experimentation. So being able to select your control group based around devices, based on history and data that we have on open rate to measure your open rate before releasing into those that may or may not be able to release those open rates, right? There's the first one. We think that we are going to introduce something called estimated open rate. Thinking about how do you really take your actual open rate and create an estimate based around the thought process around what we're seeing around the data. We're all data guys here at some level. We should be able to come up with the math to figure that out and get a pretty good idea based on historical information and data as well too. I think auto re-engagement. I think at an ESP level, just like a footer, for example, prompting someone for a click, for example, right? We've noticed that you haven't engaged in X days. Please continue to receive this email, and it becomes an automation that fires off, not a direct message. Maybe it's part of the email itself, but continue doing that. And then last but not least, I think we think about network effect. I think that's going to be the biggest place there is engagement signals that we get across all the different customers that we have, and all these different subscribers and unique people and data points that we have. We're going to take that information and share it within other users. And if we know that a person's clicking over here and though we can't see an open over on the other side, we still know that they're an engaged active signal right there. And that helps us drive list engagement down there as well too. So that's where we think about what we're working on. I think as an industry as a whole, this is probably what everyone's thinking about. And this should be how everyone's thinking about how do we attack it as a technology level. So those are our 4 things, sharing a little bit more than we probably should, but happy to do that because I think this is going to help the industry as a whole. And ultimately, that's how we all win together.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think the key for us, our philosophy, so I think George said it right in terms of like it being a fool's errand. As we focus on the SMB sector, I think the key philosophy we've always had is that whenever we present data in Drip, it has to be easy to understand, interpret, and act upon. And so I think as marketers going through this transition period, we have to make sure that the data we're presenting either has something like confidence intervals tied to it, or again, ties back to historical averages, or we're not really going to be presenting it. And so I think that's the philosophy we're taking around our data presentation. And we're avoiding things like estimated open rates and those areas, because again, it goes back to realigning on what metrics might be mattering more upstream. So maybe a slightly different approach than what Jimmy is taking. In terms of some of the features, again, I think our area of focus is around our, our industry leading segmentation engine, and how do we incorporate kind of that archery target more of the on-site behavior into dynamic segment, natively into dynamic segment creation as part of that purchase journey. And so that's what we're trying to incorporate, and again, in a way that is easy to act upon and understand by our SMB marketers in the e-commerce segment.
Awesome. So I actually want to take a little bit of a left turn here. We didn't really talk about SMS, and for us, SMS is a huge play to help counteract some of the changes that are happening with iOS. For us, the way we think about SMS is it's equally like a first-class citizen when you think of it compared to email. When email and SMS can work together on the same platform to help drive those kind of personalized communications, it just becomes a much more rewarding experience for customers. So we've put in a lot of effort, and we are coming out with a whole bunch of new features for SMS. I don't want to reveal those just yet, but we do have a Klaviyo product event coming up at the end of this month. Please register to watch some of the new changes that we are coming out with, and some of the new features that we are launching. SMS is now available both in US and Canada, so it's going to be pretty fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, it looks like we finished the hour. To all the speakers, thank you guys so much for being here. For everyone that attended, thank you guys for the emojis, the comments, the questions. Thank you guys all for being here. And hopefully we'll be able to do another one in the future. So thank you guys. Bye guys. And I guess last thing, there will be a recording. We'll get that out in the next few days. Take care. Bye.